My name is Monica, and I'm with the Sexual Assault Center with the City of Alexandria. So we work with survivors of sexual assault from every age. For example, for myself, I work with children, adolescents, families, and adult survivors. And so our agency also provides advocacy services. So that could be going to the hospital with the victim, going to court with them, helping them find resources that we may not be able to offer, like whether they're looking for shelter. We also do group therapy, and we also provide groups for parents that are non-offending caretakers, which really tells them how to support their child after they've been victimized.
All right, and why did you come out to the rally tonight?
We came out to let people know about our services because I know there's going to be a lot of Alexandria residents, and so we service people in Alexandria, students, adults, if you work in Alexandria, if you were assaulted in Alexandria too. So we just want them to know that these services are out there and be able to come and talk to us if they need to. And our services are free of charge, so it doesn't cost the victim anything. And we also have a 24-hour.
So the Women's Center is a nonprofit organization that works to provide counseling for people of all ages. We also have tons of workshops, and we also pair with other outside agencies to just provide more resources for the community.
Right. And so why did you come out to the rally tonight?
We came out just to support our community and to just raise awareness for the issues that are happening in our community.
Right. Our outreach is for the students, but we also work with other organizations like through PAVE and Project Peace and like Doorways to kind of like guide us a little bit. Right. But so we've done things like the Consent Is campaign, which is a campaign to spread awareness by having wristbands that says consent is, and then it has a blank, and on the blank line you write what consent means to you. So you could write things like mutual, consent is sober, consent is mandated, things like that.
Stop Street Harassment works globally to document and address sexual harassment in public spaces. This can escalate to sexual assault, and it can really limit people's ability to be safely in public spaces.
All right, and so why did you come out tonight to the rally?
I came out to the rally tonight because street harassment is connected to rape. It can escalate into, verbal comments can escalate into rape. For rape survivors who face verbal harassment on the street, it can feel re-victimizing. And there's studies that show that it can be triggering and traumatic. So I want to come out and support everyone who is brave enough to come here and share their stories and get the support that they need. And I just want to create a world where everyone feels safe in public spaces.
We provide free and confidential services to victims of domestic and sexual violence.
And why did you come out to the rally?
Well, we really think it's important to do a lot of community outreach and make sure the community knows what resources are out there, and so that's why we're here.
My name is Jabina Dowie, and I'm project coordinator and attorney at the Network for Victim Recovery of DC.
All right. So what does the organization do?
So NVRDC provides holistic services to victims of crime in the district, so both legal and therapeutic case management services to anybody impacted by crime, regardless of where they live, Maryland, Virginia, DC, Delaware. If they have needs and services in DC that they want to access, we can help them.
All right. And why did the organization come out to the rally tonight?
So we've been coming out to the rally for a few years because we love the event, I love the initiative in Virginia, and a lot of our services overlap with residents in the Arlington area, so we wanted to be here as a resource for them.
We came out to the rally tonight because we want to show that students are interested in this, that we have a voice as well. We want people to know that we're interested in this, and that it happens in high school. Like a lot of people don't understand that, including like administrators at my own school, which has been really frustrating. I actually was in an abusive relationship a couple years ago, which is kind of why I got into this work. My sister was a victim of sexual assault when she was in college. So it happens. It's like all over. I turn around and like the next so it's really important. This is an awesome event. We're really happy to be here.
No, I just want to invite other people, if they have stories that they need to come forward. It's very empowering to just embrace your story. You're not alone. There are a lot of people that have abuse in their past, and when we can embrace it, come forward, we can actually utilize that and help someone else.
This is my 4th year at this rally. It's the 5th year of the rally. Apparently I missed the first year where it didn't rain, but the last 3 years it has rained every time. And yet it's amazing the strength of the people that come and speak. I remember last year it was pouring down rain, and the stories just kept coming, one right after the other, into the evening. And I find this to be just a really powerful experience, just to hear people's voices. And it seems that everyone's story is different, and yet there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, and then strength and courage that comes out of sharing your story and fighting back against this. Like most involved in this issue, I did not come by it by choice. It came upon me. I think that's true for many of us. I had a sister who I love very much. It was just she and I, very close with my sister. And 20 years ago, she told me about some abuse that her husband was doing. And I wasn't as aware in that time as I am today of domestic violence and sexual violence. And, I tried to help her, and I encouraged her to get a divorce. And the day before she was to meet with a divorce attorney, we never saw her again. My sister went missing for 10 years. Well, she's obviously dead, but it was 10 years until we got justice, and her husband was put away for 50-odd years in a state penitentiary. But it woke me up to the fact that domestic violence, sexual violence is pervasive. It's everywhere. I think many of us, and I include me in that category, thought, it can't happen to me, it can't happen to my family. I come from a very good family. I have great parents, I have a great sister. I didn't hear stories like this when I was growing up. So it was happening, but I didn't know it was happening. And one of the great things about this rally that Caroline puts together, and she does, I swear, she does it all out of heart. I don't know how she gets it all together every year. But really, Caroline's amazing in doing this. And she really deserves our thanks, because that's why we're here. This was her vision. And there's just something really powerful about sharing stories. There's still a stigma today. I think all of you know this. There's a stigma for survivors of sexual violence. And there shouldn't be, because it's never their fault, period. It's the fault of the people who do the acts. And I've written about this some. If you're robbed late at night and somebody steals your wallet, you tell someone about it, you report it to the authorities, and people feel sorry for you and say that's a really terrible thing that happened to you. But if someone is a victim of sexual assault, all too often the questions go, well, why were you out that night? Where were you? What were you doing with him? Why didn't you know? At the end of the day, it's always the fault of the people who commit the crimes. And people should not be afraid to speak out. There is no shame in being a victim of sexual violence or domestic violence. The shame is the people who commit these crimes. And the more we speak out, the more we stop these criminals. I've been coming here since before I was an elected official, but I've taken the lessons of this place to heart. And there's a couple things I've done quickly that I want to share with you before we get started, just so you know that didn't just run for office to get in office. One bill that passed into law this year, signed by the governor, it's a bill that I wrote, frankly, coming out of his conversation started with Arlington County Supervisor Katie Crystal. And it has to do with rape kits, PERT kits, physical evidence kits. Current law that's about to change says that these kits can be destroyed when a young woman reaches the age of 20. Now, if you're a victim of child sexual assault, it's really hard to prosecute by the age of 20. It may be that the person who committed the sexual assault is a step-parent or a relative. It may be that at age 18 or 19 you haven't fully processed what happened to you, haven't had the necessary therapy and time to decide to prosecute. And so for some young women, they reach the age of 22, 23, and they're ready to prosecute, and the evidence isn't there. And even though there's no statute of limitations for sexual assault crimes, without evidence, it's really hard to prosecute. So the bill that I wrote that got passed unanimously into law, was signed by the governor this year, gives every child victim until age 28, where the evidence is preserved, 10 years after reaching the age of majority. And in fact, if you want it preserved longer, you simply write a letter to the prosecutor and they'll preserve it another 10 years. And this way, important evidence will not be thrown away. And I'm very glad that this became law this year, and it's one of the things that I worked on. Another thing that I was able to do with Senator Barbara Favola and with Katie Crystal that I'm proud of is to bring 24/7 sexual assault nurse examiners to Fairfax and Nova Hospital. That's going to start later on this year. And while every hospital should have PERT kits available, I absolutely agree with that. It'll be nice to have at least one hospital that we know 24/7 is available, so that if something happens at 3 a.m. on a Thursday night, you have a place to go where you can get the best treatment we have in the region. And that's something we got out of a federal grant, and I'm very proud of that work as well. So we're doing our best to help. But really, you didn't come here to hear me, and I didn't come here to speak. I came to hear all of you. So let me just thank all of you in advance, those of you that are about to share your stories. Let me say that I think you are very brave, you're very courageous, and know that in this place, you are safe. We care about you. We want to help you. We want to hear your stories. We need to know. And the more you share, in my view, the stronger you become. It's not a weakness. It's actually a strength to have the courage to share the stories that I know many of you are about to share tonight. So let me thank all of you in advance. Y'all are the reason that I keep coming back. And I want to thank Caroline again for doing what she does so well. Thank you, Caroline.
So, Rip Sullivan could not be here tonight, although he wanted to be, but his legislative assistant, Kate, is here, and she's going to say a few words on her own behalf and on Rip's behalf. And here she comes. It's a long way down here, isn't it? Come on.
Hi. I'm here on Rip Sullivan's behalf. I can't speak as eloquently as he would have if he were here. He sends his regrets, but what I did want to relay is Delegate Rip Sullivan represents where we're standing right now, down in the General Assembly. If you live here, you are his constituent. If you are nearby, he still wants to hear from you. And as we prepare for next year's legislative session, it's really important to hear from survivors about not only what they went through, but what they want to change. I think there's oftentimes, it's talked about all the time, there's a stigma. And sometimes even just talking to an elected official, you don't want to do it already. It can be a little nerve-wracking. So then to have that extra layer of shame or guilt or whatever it is that you wish you could scrub away, just come and talk to us. We want to hear your story. We want to hear your ideas. It's so valuable. And we want to know what you think, not only should change, but also maybe some things that you really appreciate and really like. And so that we can continue supporting those programs, supporting areas of the budget that, might seem really far away, but trickle down in really important ways into this community. Caroline mentioned I have my own personal story, which I'm not going to share up here, but I will say I've had an amazing experience tonight being able to talk with various women about it that have been so supportive, and it's been incredible. And so thank you all so much. It's been awesome, and I can't wait to hear from you for all the talking I've done. I'm here. I want to hear from you. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Katie, did you want to speak? She doesn't want to speak, so I'll speak for her. The first time Katie came out to this rally was with her dog, Bear, who, if you guys don't know, is this awesome, fluffy little something? Right, that. And they sat there and they listened, and Katie and I were colleagues, both serving on the Commission on the Status of Women for Arlington County. And then after that, she got a bee in her bonnet. Next thing you know, we've got the vice chair of the Arlington County Board standing up for women's issues in Arlington. So we grow our own here in Gateway Park. Before we turn it over to any of our survivors tonight, does anyone else want to speak? And I'm not putting you on the spot, Kim Klingler, or anybody else who, or Abby Raphael, who might want to come up.
Long walk. You're all so far away. I'm Abby, and I work with Project Peace. Project Peace is a coalition of lots of groups in Arlington working to prevent domestic violence and sexual assault and to support survivors. We do a lot of work in the schools because, sadly, sexual assault and intimate partner violence is a real issue for young people. And you might hear some stories tonight. I know we have in the past. We work with a group called PAVE, Promoting Awareness Victim Empowerment. A lot of folks are here from PAVE. Yeah, great job, PAVE. And right now they're working in all of our high schools to provide workshops for our students on consent, on bystander intervention, on how to support survivors. We have a curriculum in Arlington Public Schools for 9th and 10th graders, but surprisingly, there is nothing in 11th and 12th grade because they don't take health and PE, and that's where that's provided. So the work that PAVE is doing in conjunction with Project Peace is so important to reach those students, particularly as they're getting ready to go to college, and we've all heard so much about what goes on, sadly, at some of our college campuses. And I have my own personal story. My perspective on these issues changed about a year and a half ago when my daughter was raped at college. She had worked at the Women's Center, she worked with survivors, she writes on the issues, she's passionate, and this happened to her. She is strong, she's inspiring, she is still working on these issues, but as a mom to struggle with how you support your child when they've been through such a traumatic experience. And it's not just immediately when it happens, it's over and over again. So we as a family, obviously totally support her and continue to work with her as she heals from the experience that she had. And she, as I said, is really inspiring because she continues to work with survivors and write and speak out and tell her story. And we have a lot of young people here today. All the survivors are so inspiring, and our young people who are working in the schools. So I hope our Healthy Relationships Task Force is going to speak because they're working in all the high schools too. They're doing Consent Is campaigns right now, and they're the ones who are going to help change the attitudes and really make a difference. So I think we have our co-chairs of the Healthy Relationships Task Force, one of them who happens to be my other daughter, coming up, Caroline and Doreen. So let's give them a hand.
Hello, it's nice to see all of you here. We're the Healthy Relationships Task Force. I'm a co-chair. I'm Doreen.
I'm Caroline.
And we're a group of teenagers in Arlington who work together through all 4 high schools to promote awareness and victim empowerment. And we run campaigns, we work with health classrooms. So yeah, I'm gonna let Caroline get into that with you. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everyone for coming. It's so nice to know that people care about this. Our biggest focus is, again, to reach the students because we know, unfortunately, that this does happen in high school. And that comes as a surprise to in fact, a lot of people in the administrations at a lot of our schools, which is pretty troubling. So that's why we're doing this work. Some of the things that we've done include the Consent Is campaign. We did that last spring, and we're continuing to do it this spring at all of the high schools. We recently received a grant from State Farm for $100,000 to continue. Yeah, thank you. To continue our work. And with that money, we were able to hire a coordinator for HRT, and that's been really helpful because, we're so passionate about this, but again, we're students. We go to school for, 7 hours a day. We work, we have other internships, we play sports, do other activities. So it's really been amazing to have someone to kind of work through the logistical stuff and guide us, because we want to take on the world, but we need a little help. So those are some of the things that we've done. We've been trying to get assemblies in the different schools to reach the 11th and 12th graders, especially in talking about kind of like pre-prom expectations for seniors. And unfortunately, we were not successful this year at doing that at certain schools, including my own, which was a really big disappointment. But we are doing other things to reach those students, and hopefully next year we will get those assemblies at all of the schools.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so in case y'all didn't know, we do have a caucus coming up, which is the way that Democrats all get together and pick who they want to be their nominee for the Arlington County Board. This isn't a stump speech campaign thing, but I do want to give any of those an opportunity so that you can hear from them about, and Eric is here too, he's making his way. I think we get to call him up as well. But so we're going to start with Kim Klingler. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself.
Caroline, thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I am absolutely inspired by the stories I've heard thus far and inspired by the passion and the strength that I see in those in front of you. I will tell you, one of the reasons I am running for county board is because I want to keep Arlington safe. And the reason I say this is because I have served as a volunteer firefighter EMT here in Arlington County. And as much as we don't want to believe it, sexual assault does unfortunately happen here in Arlington. In my experience, that means I am picking up that person who has reported a sexual assault or not sure, and I'm putting them in the back of the ambulance. And what I love about being here tonight is that all of you are helping to prevent that from happening. And I will tell you, in my training, and it improved over the years, where we were told if you suspect any type of domestic abuse, if you suspect any type of sexual assault, your number one job is to just get that person in the back of the ambulance and get them somewhere safe. And I will tell you that is one of the reasons I'm running for county board, because I want to continue those efforts. I really commend the efforts of Abby Raphael and Katie Crystal. And the next thing I would love to be able to do, and when I put them in the back of the ambulance, is I don't have to take them out to Inova Fairfax, but I can take them to Virginia Hospital Center. I hope that is in our future. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you.
I told her to say that. Eric Gutshaw is also here. This tonight really is about survivors and victims and sharing our stories. But I think, at least for me, it feels good to hear from our community leaders about the stuff that they're passionate about on our behalf. So this is Eric Gutshaw. He's also running for county board, and he currently serves on the board of Doorways. But he used to serve on the board of Doorways. So Eric, please.
Thank you, Caroline. And yes, I served for 6 years on the board of Doorways for Women and Families. And we'll let that go by. And was very proud of that service, because this is what makes Arlington so special to me and my family, that we are a very caring and compassionate community so we'll come out for events like this and gather together for a cause that we all believe in, but it's an inherent value embedded in our community. Because in the time that I spent on Doorways, going out and talking and to various folks, whether it was elected leaders or going to civic associations and talking about the work that Doorways does, what I learned is that the number one tool that we have at our disposal to get in front of domestic violence and sexual assault, to prevent it, but also to help the healing process and to get people on their way to safe and stable lives, the number one tool we have is information. And that's what this is all about. All of those tables back there, all of that information. I have 3 daughters, and I want to know that they are growing up in a community where not only they will be armed with information, but they will have those around them in a caring and supportive community that also has information to help prevent sexual assault, and God forbid, if it becomes a reality, to help immediately with the intervention and the path to healing. So I'm very proud to be a part of a great progressive community. It's wonderful to see people willing to come out like this for such a fantastic cause. Thanks for being here, and thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jillian Short, and I'm here with Stop the Silence, Stop Child Sexual Abuse. I felt it was really, really important to be here with you today, representing the children. Unfortunately, child sexual abuse happens and we don't stay children. We become adults and we have to go on about our lives. My story and why I got into this, I was sexually abused as a child. This was many years ago. I'm 51. Back in those days, we didn't really talk about that. When it happened to me, it was a family member. So nothing ever got spoken. My abuser did not get help, and I never spoke about it, and I did not get help. And the reason I believe so much in awareness, I used to think it was kind of a silly buzzword people kind of throw around right now, but it's incredibly important because I believe with all my heart that if I had had the opportunity to have been taught, if my parents had known what to say, and other people that I know from that time, we can look around today and see we still have so much to do, but we have made at least some progress to where it is not unheard of to come forth and tell our stories. So going back to me, I didn't get help. My abuser did not get help. It was an older brother. I went on to become involved in a very, very fundamentalist religious group. I have 10 children, which I would never give back any of them, but I have them today because of the group that I was in. I was to be silent. I was to be submissive. The group that I was in, my children, I said I have 10 children. We homeschooled them. It was a very, very closed group. We were not allowed to talk about things. Unfortunately, later, I found out my children were being sexually abused. You talk about bringing all my past back because, see, I had buried mine. It was unaddressed. So when I found out about my children, it brought anxiety like you would not believe, PTSD, the full-blown mess. And here I am, a mom trying to take care of my children. There was nothing within my church community, my family, my extended family, many of them did not understand. And I had to creep along pretty much by myself in that. I went through the years of being a victim and so on and so forth. And there came a day when I realized that myself and my children were safe, and it was our time now to reach out and give back. And I have been running ever since. There is not enough people to talk to about this. I appreciate all of you coming out through our voices, through no longer being silent. That's what this organization that I'm with is called Stop the Silence, and that is what keeps the perpetuation of abuse going. I will never be silent again, ever. And my invitation to others that have gone through something like this, it's an ugly, ugly subject, but you know what? It's my story. It might be your story, and I'm inviting you to learn to rise up out of it. Embrace your story, embrace where you've been, and let's not make it about us anymore. Let's do something. Let's change this. Let's encourage others to go out and do the same. So I need to go back to my brother. My brother never got help. I never got help. Perpetuation happened. He is now still serving time in prison because he went on to abuse. Many years later, he never got help. This is a huge circle, and we've got to do something about it. So anyway, you can find me, Always a Voice. You can find me on Facebook, Always a Voice. My email is alwaysavoice@gmail.com, always a voice. My email is alwaysavoice at Gmail, and my website is alwaysavoice.com. Stop the silence. So thank you so much for listening. Please look me up, and let's do more working together to stop this. Thank you, each of you, for what you're doing.